is chaos. Its corrupting, changing taint despoils all before it. Only the strongest will endure.
Hello and welcome to another Total War Warhammer guide. Today we are looking at the lighter end of the Chaos Cavalry, and that's the Marauder Horsemen. I made a previous video about the Chaos Knights and their uses. These work very differently. They are obviously a lot cheaper. They're a lot less armoured. They come in two varieties. You've got the spear Marauder Horsemen, which are basically with throwing spears, and we have the throwing axe one. They also carry shields, which is quite effective against what we'll show you. I'll discuss how you actually use them in a battle shortly, but what we'll go is go through the stats of each unit first, and then we'll have a look. So they both come in unit 45. They're very lightly armoured, both with 15 armour. Leadership is 45 for the Marauder Horsemen and 48. I don't know why it's 48 instead of 45, because of the guys with throwing axes. They're both very quick, much quicker than the Chaos Knights. Obviously, they're heavily armoured, so they move a lot slower. So the normal horsemen have melee attack of 22 and a defense of 16. The throwing axe guys 22 and 22. So sort of similar. Their defense is a little bit less. That's because obviously they've got the shields, which really helps them out. Their weapon strength is 24 of both sides. They both got a charge bonus of 18. Ammunition, the spearmen have a couple of more shots, but pretty much the same. They have slightly better range, and their missile does 25 damage. The throwing axes have a much shorter range, 55, and they do slightly more damage, but the big change is that they're armor piercing. So that changes their targets totally. So they both have Vanguard deployments, and Vanguard deployments means this unit can deploy outside the deployment zone at the start of the battle. So it's really good for ambushes, or if you're going to use these troops in my preferred role, which we'll go through very shortly. They can also hide in the forest because they're much lightly armoured, and they can fire while moving. Both units can do that. So they're very similar, but they've just got a couple of subtle differences. We'll talk about that now while we go and kill some poor little Bretonians. So the way I'd use pretty much both these units is as a flanking force. I'd use them to pick off... my biggest thing would be to pick off missile infantry, artillery crews. That's how I'd use them. And then once they've sort of swept around the back and mopped up those sort of units, which they can beat with their throwing weapons, or they can actually beat in close combat, just charge them in. They've still got a decent charge bonus. Well, it's 18, but they're still, unit of 45 charging some handgunners. They're still going to do a hefty bit of damage. They're definitely worth using. So we'll put them both in firing arcs so we can have a look at them in action. So the major difference is that the other way to use these units is just ahead of your main battle line, and because they can move, shoot while moving, they go ahead of the main battle line, and then as that enemy battle line is sitting there slowly creeping towards your army, is that you can just whittle down the enemy. You can just soften them up, take out a few units, not so much units, but a few soldiers of each unit just before those main battle lines hit. And obviously the Axemen are a better job at taking down those armoured targets, so they would be concentrating on the armoured targets, while the normal ones would be going after the regular Joes of the army. So we're good. Now, obviously both units don't have that much armour, so after a while they will be... Here we go with the spears. Nice bit of damage. They don't do the most damage in the world. Like I said, it's just to sort of soften up the enemy before they get into charge range. I probably should have put them on skirmish, but they're going to get charged. So you can put them on skirmish mode. Skirmish mode basically means they will try to avoid combat at all costs. So they will take shots, but as soon as they get within combat range, they're going to run away, turn around, take some shots, and that's a really good way to use them. That's how I sort of prefer to use them generally, until they run out of ammunition, and then obviously after that you just use them as a sort of light cavalry unit with a half decent charge that can do some damage. Like I said, perfect for mopping up missile infantry and artillery crews. And obviously, their morale is not great at all compared to, I say, Chaos Knights and stuff like that, so they can't be used alone, as we can see in this. Obviously they're up against spearmen, which is like the perfect counter for them as well. So you just pepper them with range and then send something else in there to finish them off. As we see, we're going to get some kills here at all. There you go, there's one. Look at this guy. He's got bloody massive javelins sticking out of his shield. He's like, yeah, whatever. I've got 3 javelins sticking out. It's not slowing me down. And as you can see, they're a lot quicker than the infantry, so they can just sort of keep shooting for days until they run out of ammunition. One's got lost. What are you doing, mate? Get with the unit, yeah? So there you go, guys. There's our little mini guide for the Marauders and the axe-throwing Marauders. They're, like I said, very similar. I would take a unit or 2 of these in most armies just because of that ability to vanguard, the ability to sneak round the back and pick off those like important artillery units or wizards or something like that. There you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button if you did. Subscribe to the channel for tons more Total War content. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.